Shadows and sketches, the sewing machine hummed steadily under Naomi Foster's skilled hands, the rhythm as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. The alteration shop was quiet this Tuesday afternoon, sunlight filtering through the dusty windows to cast golden patterns across the worn wooden floor. She finished the hem with a precision born from years of practice, her fingers moving with the certainty that came from mending thousands of garments. "Another masterpiece for Mrs. Holloway," she murmured, lifting the navy dress to inspect her. Work. The client would never know how Naomi had subtly adjusted the cut to better flatter her figure, little touches beyond what was requested, born from an eye that could see not just what clothes were, but what they could be. The bell above. The door jingled, and Naomi glanced up to see her boss, Mrs. Porter, carrying a stack of new orders. "3 more wedding alterations," Mrs. Porter said, dropping the papers on Naomi's workstation. "The Jensen wedding, they all need to be done by Friday." Naomi nodded, already mentally calculating the hours. "I'll stay late tomorrow and Thursday." "You're a lifesaver," Mrs. Porter said with a rare smile before retreating to her office. What her employer didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Naomi stayed late most evenings anyway. After finishing the day's alterations, she would lock the front door, draw the blinds, and transform the shop into her private studio. That was when her real work began. From beneath a loose floorboard under her workstation, Naomi would retrieve her leather portfolio, filled with sketches of her own designs, dresses, blouses, and suits that bore little resemblance to the conservative, alterations she completed during daylight hours. Her creations featured unexpected combinations of textures, innovative silhouettes, and details inspired by architecture and nature. Tonight was no different. With the shop to herself, Naomi spread her latest sketches across the cutting table, stepping back to study the collection taking shape. She was working on a spring line she'd titled Urban Metamorphosis, garments that could transform with the wearer's needs throughout the day. Her phone buzzed, shattering her concentration. Garrett's name flashed on the screen. "Where are you?" His voice carried the edge that had become increasingly common over their 8 years of marriage. "Still at the shop. I told you I'd be late tonight. It's almost 9. Dinner's cold." Naomi closed her eyes. "I'm sorry. Mrs. Porter brought in a rush job for the Jensen wedding." Always someone else's priorities before mine. The familiar accusation hung between them. "I'll be home in 30 minutes, she promised, already gathering her sketches. "Don't bother. I already ate." The call ended abruptly. Naomi stared at the phone, the familiar mixture of guilt and resentment washing over her. She tucked her portfolio away and began cleaning up, the excitement of creation fading like mist in morning sun. When she arrived home, Garrett was sprawled on the couch, empty beer bottles on the coffee table. He barely looked up from his phone as she entered. "There's a plate in the microwave," he said flatly. "Thank you." She hung up her coat, noticing a brown stain on the sleeve. She'd need to treat it before it set. "I saw Richard today," Garrett said as she moved toward the kitchen. "His wife just got promoted to regional manager. Makes good money now." Naomi knew where this was heading. "That's nice." "Meanwhile, my wife spends her days hemming pants for minimum wage." She paused in the doorway. "I make more than minimum wage, Garrett." "Barely." He finally looked at her. "You could be doing something that actually matters, you know, something that pays, but you're content playing with needles and thread like a child." "I'm good at what I do," she said quietly. Garrett snorted. "Good at taking orders from old ladies who want their skirts let out. Real career ambition there." The microwave dinged, saving her from responding. As she ate the lukewarm pasta at the kitchen counter, Naomi's mind drifted to the designs waiting in her hidden portfolio. Sometimes, in her bolder moments, she imagined showing them to Garrett, explaining her vision, the techniques she'd developed, the statement she wanted to make through fashion. But those fantasies always dissolved when she remembered his laughter. 3 years ago, when she'd hesitantly mentioned taking night classes in fashion design. Fashion design? In this town? He'd scoffed. People like us don't do that, Naomi. We work real jobs. Besides, you think you've got what it takes to compete with people who've been training their whole lives? Be realistic. She'd never brought it up again, but she hadn't stopped dreaming either. Her sketches became her refuge, her secret act of defiance. That night, after Garrett had fallen asleep, Naomi sat by their bedroom window with her sketchbook balanced on her knees. A new design was taking shape under her pencil, a jacket with an innovative closure system inspired by origami folds. In the margin, she wrote, "For women who transform." Sometimes she wondered if she would ever be brave enough to become one of those women herself. The Forgotten Portfolio. The Bellevue Hotel's grand ballroom buzzed with activity as staff prepared for the evening's charity gala. Naomi weaved through the chaos, garment bag draped carefully over her arm. Mrs. Porter had sent her to deliver the event coordinator's emergency alteration, a delicate task trusted only to her most skilled employee. "Excuse me," Naomi approached a harried-looking woman clutching a tablet. "I'm looking for Miss Reynolds. I have her dress from Porter's alterations." "Thank God you're here," the woman exclaimed, gesturing toward a door marked "Staff Only." "She's having a meltdown in the prep room. Third door on the left." Naomi navigated the back hallway, finding Tessa Reynolds surrounded by assistants in various states of panic. "The seamstress is here," someone announced, and the room collectively exhaled. Tessa, a whirlwind of efficiency even in crisis, dismissed her assistants and turned to Naomi. "Please tell me you worked a miracle." Naomi unzipped the garment bag, revealing the emerald gown she'd spent the entire morning reconstructing. What had arrived as a disaster of ill-fitting seams and uneven hemlines now hung with elegant precision. "I reinforced the beadwork along the neckline and adjusted the drape to complement your silhouette," Naomi explained, professional confidence momentarily overriding her usual reserve. The fabric had more potential than the original cut allowed. Tessa's eyes widened as she examined the transformation. "This is incredible. You didn't just fix it, you improved it." A rare smile touched Naomi's lips. Sometimes fabric tells you what it wants to become. While Tessa tried on the gown, Naomi waited. In the hallway, setting her portfolio beside her on a bench. She'd brought it along, planning to sketch during her bus ride home. The portfolio was worn at the edges, a faithful companion through years of hidden creativity. "It's perfect," Tessa declared, emerging in the gown. "You've saved tonight's event. The designer who sent this disaster should take lessons from you." Naomi blushed at the praise. "I'm glad I could help." "Wait here," Tessa insisted. "Let me get you a proper tip." As Tessa disappeared down the hallway, Naomi's phone buzzed with a text from Garrett. "Where are you? Dinner with my boss tonight. Told you last week." Her stomach dropped. He hadn't told. Her, she was certain, but arguing would only make things worse. "On my way," she typed quickly, gathering her things in a flustered rush. When Tessa returned, Naomi accepted the generous tip with hasty thanks and hurried toward the exit, unaware that in her panic, the portfolio remained forgotten on the bench. The gala guests began arriving an hour later, among them Vivian Zhao, founder and creative director of Atelier 5, one of the fashion industry's most innovative houses. At 45, Vivian had built her reputation on discovering unique talent and sustainable practices. Tonight, she was the event's guest of honor, her company donating significantly to the Arts Education Foundation being celebrated. After completing her obligatory networking circuit, Vivian escaped for a moment of solitude. Finding a quiet hallway, she sank onto a bench, sighing as she slipped off her heels. That's when she noticed the leather portfolio, its corner peeking out from beneath a decorative plant. Curiosity, the instinct that had led to her greatest discoveries, prompted her to open it. Inside, she found page after page of extraordinary designs. They weren't the polished illustrations of an established designer, but raw, authentic sketches filled with technical notes and fabric swatches. The innovation in these pages was undeniable. Garments that transformed conventional silhouettes with architectural precision and thoughtful functionality. "These are remarkable," she murmured, pausing on a design for a convertible dress whose layers could be reconfigured into multiple looks. The note in the margin read, "For women who contain multitudes." What struck Vivian most was how these designs spoke to real women's lives. Beautiful yet practical, innovative yet wearable. The fashion industry was saturated with either unwearable avant-garde concepts or mindless trend following, but these sketches offered something different. Genuine originality with purpose. She turned to the portfolio's inside cover, searching for identification. In the corner, written in small, precise handwriting, "Designs by Naomi Foster." "Vivian? They're waiting for your speech," her assistant called from the ballroom entrance. "Coming," she replied, carefully closing the portfolio and tucking it under her arm. She would find this Naomi Foster. In 30 years of fashion, Vivian had learned to recognize authentic talent when she saw it. Meanwhile, Naomi endured a tense dinner with Garrett and his boss, Mr. Chambers. The evening stretched interminably as Garrett presented an idealized version of their marriage. "Naomi's been so supportive of my career," he told Mr. Chambers, his hand gripping her knee under the table. "She understands that sometimes I need to put in those extra hours." "That's wonderful," Mr. Chambers nodded approvingly. "Behind every successful man, right?" Naomi smiled politely, the practiced expression revealing nothing of her inner thoughts. As the men discussed business, her mind kept returning to the emerald gown and Tessa's praise. For a brief moment, someone had seen value in her work beyond mere alterations. It wasn't until they arrived home that Naomi realized her portfolio was missing. Panic seized her as she searched the car, then her work bag. "What are you looking for?" Garrett asked, loosening his tie. "Nothing," she replied automatically. "Just thought I forgot something." "Well, stop making such a racket. I've got an early meeting tomorrow." As Garrett disappeared into the bathroom, Naomi sat on the edge of their bed, mind racing. That portfolio contained years of designs, her dreams rendered in pencil and fabric. Without it, she felt oddly exposed, as if a piece of her secret self was wandering unprotected in the world. She didn't sleep that night, alternating between anxiety about her lost work and formulating plans to search the hotel in the morning. What she couldn't possibly know was that her portfolio now rested on Vivian Zhao's nightstand, with a note beside it. "Find Naomi Foster." Tentative steps. The morning light filtered through the windows of Porter's alterations as Naomi methodically worked through her tasks, her movements automatic while her mind remained fixated on her missing portfolio. She had called the Bellevue Hotel 3 times already, each call yielding the same result. Nothing turned in to lost and found matching her description. "You seem distracted today," Mrs. Porter observed, placing another stack of orders on Naomi's table. "Everything all right?" "Just tired," Naomi replied with a forced smile. "Didn't sleep well." The bell above the door chimed, and both women turned to see a striking figure enter the shop. The woman was impeccably dressed in a charcoal pantsuit with subtle architectural details that Naomi immediately recognized as Atelier Fille, a brand she had studied in fashion magazines that she kept hidden beneath their bed at home. "Welcome to Porter's Alterations," Mrs. Porter greeted. "How can we help you?" The woman surveyed the modest shop with keen interest. "I'm looking for Naomi Foster." Naomi's hands stilled on the fabric she was pinning. That's me. Mrs. Porter's eyebrows rose in surprise. I'll let you handle this, she murmured, retreating to the back room. The woman approached, extending her hand. Vivian Zhao, founder of Atelier Phi. I believe I have something that belongs to you. Naomi's heart stuttered as Vivian produced the familiar leather portfolio from her designer tote. My portfolio? Naomi whispered, reaching for it with trembling hands. Where did you find it? At the Bellevue during last night's gala. Vivian watched Naomi closely. I took the liberty of looking through it. I hope you don't mind. Heat crept up Naomi's neck. You looked at my designs? I did. Vivian's expression remained unreadable. And now I'd like to discuss them with you. Are you available for lunch? 40 minutes later, Naomi sat across from Vivian in a quiet corner of an upscale restaurant, still processing the surreal turn of events. Mrs. Porter had practically pushed her out the door, thrilled that her shop was getting attention from someone of Vivian's stature. Your technical skill is evident, Vivian said after they ordered. The construction notes in your margins show someone who understands how garments come together. Where did you study? Naomi stared into her water glass. I didn't. Not formally. I've been working in alterations since high school. Self-taught. Then? Vivian nodded thoughtfully. That explains the unconventional approaches in your designs. Sometimes traditional education constrains innovation. Naomi looked up, surprised by this perspective. Most people think proper training is essential. Most people lack imagination, Vivian replied simply. I've spent my career seeking authentic voices in fashion. Your designs speak to women's actual lives while pushing creative boundaries. That's remarkably rare. Their food arrived, but Naomi could barely eat as Vivian continued. I have a proposition for you, Naomi. Atelier 5 is launching an incubator program for emerging designers. I'd like you to join us, develop your urban metamorphosis collection with our resources. Naomi set down her fork. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you an opportunity, Vivian clarified. 3 months, with a stipend. At the end, if the collection meets our standards, we'll feature it in our spring showcase. The restaurant seemed to fade around Naomi as possibilities unfurled in her mind, possibilities she had never allowed herself to truly consider. I don't know what to say, she managed. Say yes, Vivian replied. Start next Monday. I have responsibilities at Porter's, which you can transition out of professionally. 1 week is sufficient notice for alterations work. Naomi thought of Garrett, of the inevitable confrontation. And the hours? Standard studio hours 9 to 5, Vivian said. Though creative work often demands flexibility. I need to think about it, Naomi said quietly. Vivian handed her a business card. Call me tomorrow with your decision. That evening, Naomi paced their small apartment, rehearsing how to tell Garrett. When he arrived home, she had dinner waiting. His favorite, pasta dish, and a practice speech prepared. You're in a good mood, he remarked suspiciously, hanging up his jacket. Something happened today, she began carefully. Something unexpected. She explained about Vivian and the offer, framing it as an extension of her alterations work, emphasizing the prestigious opportunity and the stipend. Garrett listened with narrowed eyes. So you'd be making clothes, he said flatly. Like you do now. Design is different from alterations, she explained. This is a chance to create original pieces for a renowned label. For 3 months. Then what? If my collection is successful, there could be more opportunities. Garrett laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. And if it's not, you'll have quit a steady job for nothing. Mrs. Porter said she'd take me back if it doesn't work out. He studied her, something calculating in his expression. The money's better than what you make now? Yes, she admitted. Almost twice as much. This detail shifted something in his demeanor. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to try it. Might be good to have some extra cash coming in. Naomi blinked, surprised by his acquiescence. "So you think I should accept?" "Why not? Just don't get your hopes up too high. These fashion people can be fickle." His conditional support was more than she'd expected, though the undercurrent of doubt was familiar. Still, it was enough. The next morning, she called Vivian with her answer. The following Monday, Naomi entered Atelier Fee's sleek downtown studio, her portfolio clutched to her chest like armor. The space was bright and open, with design stations, fabric libraries, and models of varying sizes and shapes. It was everything she had imagined and nothing like she had expected. "Welcome to the team," a friendly voice greeted her. A man about her age extended his hand. "Julian Reed, technical designer. Vivian asked me to show you around." Julian's warm brown eyes crinkled when he smiled, and his rolled-up sleeves revealed forearms covered in intricate tattoos of measuring tools and geometrical patterns. "Naomi Foster," she replied, shaking his hand. "I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here." "Creating beautiful things, I hope," he said. "Come on, I'll show you to your station." As Julian guided her through the studio, introducing her to pattern makers, sewists, and other designers, Naomi felt simultaneously out of place and strangely at home. These people spoke her language, discussing drape and structure, sustainability and innovation. "And this is you," Julian announced, stopping at a spacious workstation with a professional drafting table, sewing machine, and dress form. A small plaque read, "Naomi Foster, designer." "Is this real?" she whispered, running her fingers along the edge of the table. Julian smiled. "Very. Vivian doesn't do anything halfway. When she believes in someone's talent, she invests completely." He paused, studying her. "You look overwhelmed." "I've never had space dedicated just to my work before," Naomi admitted. "Well, now you do," he said simply. "What's the first piece you want to develop?" Naomi opened her portfolio to the transformable jacket design. For the first time in years, she felt the full force of her own creativity, without the shadow of doubt that usually accompanied it. "This one," she said with newfound confidence. "Let's start with this." As the weeks passed, Naomi found herself flourishing in the collaborative environment. Her designs evolved from sketches to patterns to prototypes, each step bringing her vision closer to reality. Julian became both mentor and friend, his technical expertise complementing her innovative concepts. At home, Garrett remained surprisingly supportive, especially after her first stipend payment. If he noticed the gradual changes in her, the straightened posture, the more assertive voice, the way she no longer apologized for her existence, he didn't comment on them. Each day at Atelier Fee felt like stepping into another world, one where her ideas were valued and her talent recognized. Each evening at home felt increasingly like visiting a past she was steadily outgrowing. What Naomi didn't yet realize was that some patterns, once altered, can never be restored to their original form. Breaking patterns. 6 weeks into her time at Atelier 5, Naomi's collection was taking remarkable shape. The prototype for her transformable jacket hung on a dress form beside her workstation, its innovative closure system now perfected after multiple iterations. Across the studio, 3 models wore different configurations of her convertible dress, demonstrating how a single garment could transition from office-appropriate to evening wear with a few strategic adjustments. "The functionality doesn't compromise the aesthetic," Julian observed, circling one of the models. "That's what makes these special." Vivian approached, clipboard in hand. "We're presenting progress to the board tomorrow. Naomi, I'd like you to walk us through your collection concept." "Me?" Naomi's eyes widened. "Wouldn't you rather present it?" "It's your vision," Vivian said matter-of-factly. "No one can articulate it better than you." As Vivian moved on to another designer, Julian nudged Naomi's shoulder. "Don't look so terrified. You know this collection inside out." "It's not the collection I'm worried about," she admitted. It's speaking in front of all those executives. Then practice with me tonight, Julian suggested. We can stay late, run through your presentation in the empty conference room. I can't stay late, Naomi said automatically. Garrett's expecting me home for dinner. Julian's expression remained neutral, though something flickered in his eyes. Over the weeks, Naomi had shared bits and pieces about her marriage, always careful, always measured, but Julian was perceptive enough to read between the lines. What if you told him you had a work commitment? He asked gently. This presentation is important for your career. Naomi hesitated, then pulled out her phone. After a moment's consideration, she texted Garrett. Need to prepare for a big presentation tomorrow. Working late tonight. Don't wait up for dinner. His response came quickly. Again? Third time this week. Whatever. She stared at the screen, the familiar guilt rising, but alongside it was something new, a quiet certainty that her work deserved this time, that she deserved this time. Okay, she said, looking up at Julian. Let's practice. The studio emptied as evening fell, leaving only Naomi and Julian in the conference room. They arranged her sample pieces on display stands and rehearsed her presentation until her voice grew confident, her gestures natural. You're ready, Julian declared at 9 o'clock. The board's going to be impressed. They gathered her materials in comfortable silence, the kind that had developed between them over weeks of collaboration. As they walked to the elevator, Julian asked, Are you hungry? There's a great Thai place around the corner still open? Naomi checked her phone. No messages from Garrett. Actually, I am starving. Over dinner, their conversation flowed beyond work for the first time. Julian told her about his journey from costume design to fashion, about growing up with a single mother who had taught him to sew. She made all our Halloween costumes, he recalled fondly. I was the only kid with a professionally constructed Darth Vader cape. Naomi laughed, relaxing in the warm glow of shared stories. My grandmother taught me. She made wedding dresses in her basement. I used to play with the scraps making doll clothes. When did you know you wanted to design? I've always known, she said softly. I just never thought it was possible for someone like me. Julian studied her across the table. And now? Now I'm starting to believe it might be. She smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. When they finally parted outside the restaurant, Julian hesitated, then said, You have a remarkable gift, Naomi. I hope you know that. Something warm unfurled in her chest at his words. Not romance, but something equally powerful. Validation from someone who truly understood her work, who saw her clearly. It was nearly 11 when Naomi unlocked her apartment door, expecting darkness and silence. Instead, she found Garrett sitting rigidly on the couch, the lights harsh overhead. Finally decided to come home, he said, his voice deceptively calm. I told you I was working late, she replied, setting down her bag. Working right. He stood, moving toward her with deliberate steps. So you weren't at Siam Garden with some guy? Naomi froze. How do you? Dave from accounting had dinner. There tonight. Saw you looking pretty cozy. His face twisted. Who is he, Naomi? Julian is a colleague, she said carefully. We were practicing for my presentation tomorrow and got hungry afterward. Practicing. Garrett mimicked her tone. Is that what they call it now? It's not what you're implying, Naomi insisted, her heart racing. He's helping me prepare for... I've been supportive of this little fashion adventure, Garrett interrupted, his voice rising. I've let you play designer, even though we both know it's going nowhere. And this is how you repay me? Sneaking around with some... It's not a little adventure, Naomi cut in, surprising herself with her firmness. It's my career. My work is going well. The board is reviewing my collection tomorrow. Garrett laughed, the sound ugly and sharp. Your career? Let's be real, Naomi. You're a hobby seamstress who got lucky. When this 3-month fantasy ends, you'll be back at Porter's fixing other people's clothes. His words struck with practiced precision, targeting her deepest insecurities. 6 weeks ago, they would have demolished her. Tonight, something different happened. "No," she said quietly. "I won't." Garrett blinked, thrown by her response. "What?" "Whether Atelier Five keeps me on or not, I won't go back to just alterations. I've seen what I'm capable of now." She met his gaze steadily. "And I'm good, Garrett. Really good." His expression darkened. "So that's it? A few weeks of praise from these fashion people and suddenly you're too good for our life?" "That's not what I said." Naomi took a deep breath. "But something has changed. I've changed. Because of him, this Julian? Because of me," she corrected. "Because I finally gave myself permission to be more than what you've decided I am." Garrett stepped closer, his height intentionally intimidating. "And what exactly have I decided? You are?" "Small," Naomi said, the word emerging from some long-buried place within her. "You need me to be small, so you can feel big." For a moment, naked shock registered on his face, quickly replaced by cold anger. "After everything I've done for you, what have you done for me, Garrett?" The question wasn't accusatory, but genuinely curious, as if she were seeing their relationship clearly for the first time. "When was the last time you supported my dreams instead of dismissing them? When was the last time you were proud of me instead of reminding me of my limitations?" "You want to talk about support?" he snapped. "Who paid the bills when you were making minimum wage? Who gave you a roof over your head while you played with your little sketches?" "I've always contributed financially," Naomi countered calmly. "And this apartment is in both our names. But that's not the kind of support I'm talking about, and you know it." The truth hung between them, impossible to ignore. Their marriage had never been a partnership, but a carefully constructed cage, one she had helped build through years of acquiescence. "I think I should stay somewhere else tonight," Naomi said, finally. "Running to your new boyfriend?" Garrett sneered. "No, I'm going to a hotel so we can both cool down." She moved toward the bedroom to pack an overnight bag. "We'll talk tomorrow after my presentation." Garrett followed her. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." Naomi's hand stilled as she folded a blouse into her bag. The ultimatum should have terrified her. Instead, it clarified everything. "Is that really what you want?" she asked softly. "What I want," he growled, "is my wife back. The one who remembered her place." Naomi zipped her bag closed and straightened, her shoulders. "I don't think that person exists anymore." She met his gaze. Maybe she never should have. His face contorted with rage. "So that's it? 8 years thrown away for some fashion fantasy?" "No," Naomi said, a profound sadness washing over her. 8 years of trying to be someone I'm not, for a man who never saw who I really am." She moved past him toward the door, her steps steady despite her racing heart. "You'll fail," Garrett called after her. "You'll come crawling back when this falls apart." Naomi paused at the threshold, turning to look at him one last time. "Maybe I will fail, but it will be my failure, on my terms. And that's worth more than succeeding at being small." She closed the door behind her, the sound echoing, with finality. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, expecting tears or panic. Instead, she felt an overwhelming sense of clarity, as if she'd finally removed a pair of smudged glasses she hadn't known she was wearing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Julian. "Just checking you got home safe. Big day tomorrow. You're going to be amazing." Something warm bloomed in her chest, not romance yet, but possibility. The possibility of connections based on mutual respect rather than power, of a life defined by creation rather than constraint. Naomi hailed a taxi to a nearby hotel, her portfolio hugged close to her chest. Tomorrow she would present her collection to the board. Tomorrow she would begin the complicated process of disentangling her life from Garrett's. Tonight she would sketch new designs in a hotel room, designs for a woman reclaiming her power, piece by piece. Runway Revolution. The morning sunlight streamed through the hotel window, casting a golden glow across Naomi's sketches spread across the bed. She had barely slept, her mind alternating between preparation for her presentation and processing the seismic shift in her personal life. Yet surprisingly, she felt more centered and clear-headed than she had in years. After a shower and a strong coffee, she dressed in one of her own creations, a charcoal pencil skirt with an innovative asymmetrical closure and a cream blouse with architectural details at the shoulders. Looking in the mirror, she hardly recognized herself. Not because of the clothes, but because of the woman wearing them, someone with straight shoulders and steady eyes. Her phone buzzed with a text from Julian. "On my way to pick you up. Vivian wants to see you before the board meeting." 20 minutes. Later, Naomi entered Atelier Fee's studio with Julian beside her, her portfolio and samples carefully arranged in garment bags. "You okay?" Julian asked quietly. "You seem different today." "I left Garrett," she said simply. The words felt strange in her mouth, both terrifying and liberating. Julian's steps faltered. "Last night?" It was overdue, she added, surprised by her own composure. Before Julian could respond, Vivian emerged from her office. "Naomi, a word before the presentation?" In Vivian's minimalist office, Naomi waited as the older woman arranged herself behind her desk. "The board can be intimidating," Vivian began without preamble. "They're brilliant business minds, but sometimes lack creative vision. Remember that you're not asking for their approval. You're showing them what they've been missing." Naomi nodded, grateful for the straightforward advice. Vivian's expression softened slightly. "When I found your portfolio, I saw more than just designs. I saw a perspective that's been absent from fashion, practical innovation with genuine artistry. Whether the board fully grasps that today or not, don't lose sight of your unique voice." "Thank you," Naomi said, unexpected emotion catching in her throat. "For everything." "Don't thank me yet," Vivian replied with a hint of a smile. "Wait until after you dazzle them." The boardroom felt cavernous as Naomi arranged her collection on display forms. 8 executives in expensive suits studied her with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Julian and Vivian sat at one end of the table, offering silent support. "Whenever you're ready, Ms. Foster," the chairman prompted. Taking a deep breath, Naomi began where her journey had started, with transformation. "The modern woman lives many lives within a single day," she said, her voice finding its strength. "She transitions between roles and spaces, often without the chance to change her appearance to match these shifts. My collection addresses this reality not as a limitation, but as an opportunity for innovation." She moved to the first piece, the transformable jacket that had evolved through countless iterations. This piece features a patentable closure system inspired by origami principles. With 3 simple adjustments, it transitions from structured professional wear to a relaxed evening silhouette. As she guided the board through each design, explaining the technical solutions behind the aesthetic choices, Naomi felt the energy in the room shift. The initial skepticism gave way to engaged interest, then to genuine excitement as the commercial potential of her innovations became apparent. "The entire collection uses modular design principles," she explained, demonstrating how one dress could be reconfigured into 7 distinct looks. This approach not only offers versatility to the wearer, but addresses sustainability concerns by reducing the need for multiple garments. When she finished, there was a moment of weighted silence before the questions began, not challenging her premise, but exploring its applications. How quickly could production be scaled? Had she considered extending the concept to accessories? Would she be interested in developing a capsule collection for their department store partners? Before we discuss next steps, Vivian interjected, I should clarify that Ms. Foster's initial contract with us concludes in 6 weeks. Any further development would require a new arrangement. The chairman looked genuinely surprised. I had assumed she was already on staff. By all means, let's discuss a permanent position. As the meeting concluded with handshakes and business cards exchanged, Naomi felt strangely detached from the success, as if watching it happen to someone else. It wasn't until she returned to the studio, Julian and Vivian flanking her, that reality began to sink in. They want to offer you a full designer position, Vivian confirmed, with a development budget for your patents. I'll have contracts prepared by next week. This is really happening, Naomi murmured. It really is, Julian grinned. I told you. You'd be amazing. Vivian excused herself to handle the paperwork, leaving Naomi and Julian alone among the collection pieces. So what happens now? Julian asked softly. With everything else, I mean. Naomi traced her fingers along the seam of her transformable jacket. I need to find an apartment, file for divorce, build a life that's actually mine. That sounds overwhelming. Strangely, it's not, she replied. For the first time, I'm not afraid of the blank page. It's full of possibility, rather than emptiness. Julian's warm eyes met hers. If you need help apartment hunting, I know some good neighborhoods. I'd like that, she smiled, a small but genuine expression. The following weeks unfolded in a blur of professional triumphs and personal challenges. Naomi found a small but sunlit apartment not far from the studio, furnished it minimally but with pieces that brought her joy. The divorce proceedings began, Garrett alternating between attempts to win her back and vindictive demands, finally settling into resigned negotiation when he realized she wouldn't return. 3 months after her boardroom presentation, Naomi stood backstage at New York Fashion Week, where Atelier 5 had given her collection the closing slot, a coveted position usually reserved for established names. Her designs, now produced with Vivian's exacting standards, hung on a row of models, representing diverse body types, another innovation she had insisted upon. 5 minutes to places, the stage manager called. Julian appeared at her side, looking sharp in a suit of his own design. Their relationship had evolved gradually over the months, from colleagues to friends to something deeper, built on mutual respect and shared passion. Nervous? He asked, straightening a sleeve on the nearest garment. Terrified, she admitted, but the good kind of terrified. He squeezed her hand. They're going to love it, but more importantly, do you love it? Naomi looked at her collection, each piece representing not just design innovation, but personal transformation. I do. It's exactly what I wanted to create. Then that's what matters. Julian pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. I'll be in the front row. As he disappeared toward the audience, Vivian approached, elegant in black as always. The fashion director from Vogue is particularly interested in your convertible evening wear, she informed Naomi, and the department store orders have already exceeded projections. Naomi nodded, absorbing the information. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Vivian's expression softened slightly. I didn't take a chance, Naomi. I recognized excellence and gave it the platform it deserved. There's a difference. She glanced at her watch. 2 minutes. Are you ready? The question encompassed so much more than the imminent runway show. Was she ready for the spotlight, for success, for a life determined by her own choices rather than someone else's expectations? I am, Naomi answered with certainty. The music began, pulsing through the venue as the first model took her position. Naomi gave final adjustments to each look before it hit the runway, her hands steady and sure. Through the curtain, she could hear the audience's reaction. murmurs of appreciation growing to enthusiastic applause as each transformation was revealed on the catwalk. When the final model returned backstage, Vivian nodded toward the runway. "They're waiting for you." Taking a deep breath, Naomi stepped onto the catwalk, blinking against the bright lights. The audience rose in a standing ovation, fashion editors, buyers, influencers all recognizing the birth of a distinctive new voice in design. In the front row, Julian beamed with pride, while beside him, to Naomi's surprise, sat Mrs. Porter, applauding with tears in her eyes. As Naomi took her bow, she felt not triumph, but profound gratitude for the portfolio accidentally left behind, for Vivian's discerning eye, for Julian's steady support, and even for the difficult journey that had led her here. Most of all, she felt grateful to herself, for the woman who had kept sketching in secret all those years, who had never completely surrendered her dreams despite every discouragement. Later that evening, at the after-party in Atelier Fee's rooftop garden, Naomi found a quiet moment away from the celebrations. The city lights spread before her like constellations, each one representing countless lives and stories unfolding in apartments and offices across the metropolis. Julian found her there, offering a glass of champagne. "Hiding from your admirers. Just taking it all in?" she smiled, accepting the drink. "It doesn't feel quite real yet." "It's real," he assured her. "You did this, Naomi. All of it." She leaned against the railing, considering his words. "Not entirely alone," she acknowledged. "I had help at critical moments." "True," Julian conceded, "but you were the one brave enough to take the opportunities. When they appeared, that's rarer than you might think." Across the party, Naomi spotted a young woman, one of the studio interns, shyly showing Vivian sketches from a portfolio similar to the one Naomi had once carried. The cycle continuing, opportunity extending to new voices. "What's next?" Julian asked, following her gaze. "After the post-Fashion Week madness dies down?" Naomi considered the question, sipping her champagne. "Professionally, I want to expand the transformable concept to include adaptive clothing for people with disabilities. There's so much innovation needed there." "And personally?" His question was gentle, patient. She turned to face him fully, taking, in the warmth of his expression, the respect and affection that had grown between them over months of collaboration and understanding. "Personally," she said with a small smile, "I'm designing as I go, but I like where the pattern is heading." Julian's hand found hers on the railing, their fingers intertwining naturally. Below them, the city pulsed with energy and possibility. Above, stars punctuated the darkness, distant but attainable, just like dreams that once seemed impossible. "To transformation," Julian proposed, raising his glass. Naomi clinked her glass against his. "To becoming who we were always meant to be." As the celebration continued around them, Naomi Foster, designer, innovator, woman reclaimed, stood tall in a world she had helped reshape, stitch by careful stitch, into something beautiful and entirely her own.